just remember that you are bringing an adult into your child's safe space. And when you are potentially trying to merge two things together and you're not keeping your child's feelings in the forefront of that experience, your child can walk away from that feeling very defeated as a child and feeling like you don't care. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Jeanna.
And I'm Ivo.
Happy Friday, Ivo.
Happy Friday, Jeanna.
Do you enjoy your time off?
I did. I definitely enjoyed my time off. I had some stuff that was piling up on me, and I just needed a moment to clear it all up. You know, get that backlog out of the way and just start off with a fresh slate.
Anthony and I gave you a little break.
Yeah, appreciate that. So here I am, fresh, brand new, feeling good, loving life, and I'm ready to get into this topic. So what are we covering today?
So today we are talking about dating as a single parent, part 2.
Okay.
Dating as a single parent, the initial episode is our most popular episode, streamed and downloaded on podcasting. It seems like there is an active audience to get to want to know more about this topic. And March 21st is the reason why we initially started this topic, which is National Single Parents Day. If you are not aware, you know, it's just like one of those days like National Girlfriend Day or something like that. But I thought it'd be dope for us to revisit the topic of dating as a single parent, but dive a little bit deeper this time into what it's like to date as a single parent when you are in either a new relationship or what would you consider new? I was thinking about time frame. I'm thinking like within the year.
Yeah, it's definitely within the first year is new. 6 months type, you know. I want to say from the beginning to like 6 months is definitely brand new.
Mm-hmm. And then within like still the first year is still like a new relationship.
Once you get to a year, that's when the seasoning starts happening.
You put a little sazon on it.
Put a little sazon on it. It's getting a little frothy.
A little what?
A little frothy.
Frothy?
Yeah. You don't know what frothy means?
Yeah, but when you put seasoning doesn't make things frothy. Frothy is like when you're making coffee and there's like that froth on top.
I know. I'm not suggesting that seasoning is anything like frothy. I'm just adding it to the mix. Like, damn, man, listen. All right.
I'm just not understanding what you mean by that.
Yeah, frothy, you know?
Okay. So I'm sorry. You just caught me totally off guard with that. So yeah, I actually went ahead and reached out to some of my friend groups and family groups because I have people within those groups that are actively dating as a single parent. Some of them are still in the dating pool. Mm-hmm. Some of them are in new relationships. Some of them are dating a person that has children and they don't have children themselves. Some of them are dating someone that has a child and they have children themselves. Some of them are dating with children, dating other people that don't have children. So there's a lot of dynamics that I was able to kind of tap into. And what I did was I reached out to these groups and I asked them what were some of the most challenging things that they're faced with when they're dating as a parent. Mm-hmm. And I say single because if they're not married and they're separated from their ex and they're in a new relationship, I still consider them a single parent unless there is two parents in a household. That's when I would
like at some point they're at home by themselves with their kids. Like
they're still a single parent.
The biological parent is not in the house, and the person that they're dating is not in the house. Yeah. So they are a single parent at some point.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point to bring up. So we are going to discuss some of the challenges that, you know, I am so grateful for that everyone sent to me. And when we combed through them, we definitely found some things that were a common theme. So we kind of chopped it down a little bit to focus on some of the ones that we thought were, I guess, crucial in a dating as a single parent.
Or some of the more complicated ones.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of discuss how, you know, solutions on ways to get through them, because you know it's not an easy thing.
It's not, and we have been through it.
Yeah, we've definitely been through it. You know, and there's no book to it. You know, you kind of just
There is.
I mean, there's no written handbook like to
There's no handbook, but there are books that help.
But I feel like everybody's got their own way of going about it, whether it be, reaching out to other friends to find out how they do with it, to reaching out to, friends and family, parents, aunts and uncles, people at work.
I think what you're trying to say is that there is not just a plethora of information out there about how people can go about dating as a single parent, that they feel like they're going to be doing it in a way that is like the best fitted for them. It's kind of like trial and error, because I know that we went through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody you ask
has something different
to say about, what they feel is the best way to handle it. So, one of the struggles that I found that can be pretty common is scheduling, as far as like trying to date, as a single parent. So if you're separated from the biological parent of your child, and you're trying to move on with your life and kind of like, just feel normal, get back into the dating scene, right? And I know that sounds kind of crazy for some people who are just newly out of a relationship and stepping back into this for the first time. I know I've heard a lot about that, getting your feet wet and kind of like getting acclimated with the dating scene again can be a little challenging. But what can be very challenging is scheduling the time that you spend with your child and your significant other when it comes to dating. Are they going to be able to watch the child? Are they going to be okay with you dating?
Wait a second. You said scheduling with your significant other. Do you mean
yes, with the ex? With the ex, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. So scheduling with the ex can be very difficult, especially when you're trying to coordinate around dating, right? So what's that conversation look like? Hey, I'm going out on a date. You think you can, watch? We'll call the child, for lack of a better term. You think you could watch David? Some exes might make it difficult for you. Some exes are jealous. Some exes don't want to see you happy. So that can be a very difficult thing to deal with.
Let me ask you, do you actually think that it is, because when you say that, do you think that it is the right of the parent, do you think it's the right of the ex to know that you're going out on a date with someone and that's why you're asking them to take care of their child?
Do you
think they're entitled to that?
I think to some degree, yes. I don't think that your ex should know about every single date that you're going on.
Okay.
But if it's someone that you're dating and that you're starting to get serious,
okay,
at some point this is something that you're going to want to introduce to your ex. You're going to want to know that there may be a time down the road that the person that you're dating is going to meet your children. And so that's not something that you just want to spring on your ex. You want to make sure that they're aware that you've been dating this person.
Okay.
And maybe have conversations with them throughout that time of dating on, hey, how's it going? Or putting, giving them positive feedback if there's any to give to the ex, so that at some point they're not so apprehensive about that person, the new boyfriend or girlfriend, meeting the children.
Okay.
And so that's one of the hurdles of dating as a single parent. And one of the ways that you can solve this or not make it as difficult as one may think, because it does sound challenging, right? You got to like bob and weave through somebody else's feelings and, tippy-toe through like this delicate situation of being with somebody else while still dealing with your ex, is be understanding about your ex's needs as well. Try to be the bigger person and be flexible with them whenever they need you, and be open-minded that they may be dating someone else as well. And so it would be a good idea to kind of go about treating them the way that you would want to be treated. It would be unfair for you. I mean, this is my personal opinion, but I think it would be unfair for you to expect your ex to have this empathy and this understanding about the time that you may need to go and be with somebody that you're dating, if you're not giving them the same empathy and respect, and consideration that you want in return. So I think it's important to create that dynamic, because if you don't, you're just gonna face, like, you're gonna have a hard time. Period. And I know this because I know people that have tried to do this, where they're getting a hard time from their ex, from their new relationship, and it's probably because they're not, the person that's trying to get the courtesy, they're not giving the courtesy back to their ex. They're not setting like a foundation of, hey, this is how I want our relationship to be when it comes to us going dating other people.
Okay, I want to just make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. So you are saying that the person that is actively dating or in a new relationship, that they should apply some courtesy to their ex's situation in the same regard of how they treat them if they also want time to date other people.
Yeah, because
and wait, hold on, I'm not done. And
okay.
Then you're saying that you think you said this is your personal opinion, that the reason why some parents that are dating or in a new relationship are not receiving the same amount of thoughtfulness to them when they need their ex to either, it's their weekend, or that they're not receiving the same thoughtfulness because they themselves are not applying it to their ex.
Yeah, that's one reason.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Why?
No, I just want to make sure that I was following you correctly when you said that.
Yeah. Just think about it like this, right?
I'm not saying that I don't agree with that. I do think that there are definitely scenarios where maybe one of the parents is being a little bit more selfish about how it is that they are handling their scheduling when it comes to their dating life, and they're not giving the same courtesy to their to the other non-custodial parent. I can see that happening.
Yeah, like one way, like one example I can give you is I'm gonna use us for as an example, because I think it's just easier to explain that way.
Okay.
If we were separated and you were gonna go out on a date and I wasn't available, we originally stated that I wasn't available. You were gonna use a sitter. Mm-hmm. Your sitter bailed on you. What do? Right? You have the situation. Now, I think it would be a good idea for me to see how I can help you in that moment. Even though it's not my responsibility, it's your turn. You already had made arrangements. We made arrangements that I wasn't going to be available. You were going to get a sitter. That fell through for you. In that situation, it would be best for our relationship as co-parents that I at least attempt to try to help you.
And you're saying this because then in turn, in the same situation, if maybe one day your sitter falls through, that I'm going to extend the same courtesy to you.
Yeah.
This to me sounds like a very healthy co-parenting relationship. I think it takes a lot of conversations to happen.
Absolutely.
For it to get to that point. But you did start off by saying that there are many parents that are dating or in a new relationship that do not have a cooperative ex. In that case, I myself have dealt with that. Ivo and I have dealt with that. When we first started dating, my ex was not cooperative as far as being responsible when it came to his weekends, or being responsible when he was supposed to pick up the children. We were faced with that situation many times in our relationship. So some advice that I would like to give, if you do have that situation with your ex where they're just fucking not showing up, this needs to be a crucial conversation between you and the person that you're dating. You need to have them understand what you are experiencing in your world as a single parent, because many times as a single parent, one thing I know, and I've done this myself, is you think that you need to take on the world on your shoulders when it comes to your children, and that you should not involve anyone else that is not their parent and or family into the situation, because you feel like this heavy, it's my responsibility. But that does not mean that you can't say to your current partner, hey, this is what I'm dealing with right now. My ex is not cooperating. They are not picking up the children on the days that they are obligated to. I don't really have a large network of friends and family, and maybe the finances are not there for them to pay for a babysitter every time you go on a date.
Yeah.
There's the saying, if they wanted to, they will. So I think if you have this conversation with your new partner, you'd be surprised that your new partner may be willing to step up and say, okay, So what are we going to do? Because
that's what it
if
boils
you're
down
in a
to.
relationship, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
How can they help you in certain parts of your life that maybe you're not able to, because that's what partners do for each other. And I can reflect upon many times when you did that. And if it's a new relationship, your partner or your new boyfriend or girlfriend just may want to say, hey, I'd be more than happy to pay for a babysitter for us, on our future dates, if you feel like you can't rely upon this partner. But give them that opportunity. Yeah. And I know that it may take for you to kind of like let your guard down as a parent and ask someone for help, per se, but it's also involving them into your life in a way that maybe you wouldn't have thought to otherwise. And I think that that's really important, because if you eventually want them to meet your children and to be part of your children's life, that's a really small way to let them kind of step in just ever so slightly.
And, rolling right off of that, another hurdle that people face as single parents when co-parenting is introducing, your children to your significant other, and what that looks like as far as your ex and what they feel like, and managing that whole relationship. You understand what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. So another hurdle that one might face when dating as a single parent is introducing your children to the new person that you're dating.
Okay.
So navigating the relationship between you and your ex and making sure that is on steady ground is very important, so that when the introduction of the new boyfriend or the new significant other comes into play, I want to say the least amount of static that there can be. It's a delicate situation that needs to be handled properly, because if not, it could just create a whole bunch of mess and a whole bunch of drama. And additionally, the children, are very important. The children in this case are often overlooked as far as like how they may feel and if they're okay with the new situation. I think that there needs to be, first of all, it all needs to be a very slow process.
Yeah.
And it's like a very delicate dance and balance that needs to be done properly. And the last piece of it is like introducing the significant other. But it can all be very challenging. I know that it's gone way wrong in many different situations for many different people, because there's no handbook on how to do this, and a lot of people aren't that mature where they're willing to put in the work on, being open and honest with the ex and taking things really slow with the new significant other. And then at the same time, keeping your kids very aware, acknowledging their feelings, making sure that you're speaking to them, in a sense so they're aware of what's going on, but obviously don't know the full details of it, and kind of bringing all of that in together. Yeah. It's like a delicate dance.
I want to add to that I think it's also important for you to have conversations with your ex regarding you being in a new relationship and the introduction, and how well or not well that may be going. Again, this is putting in play healthy conversation and healthy communication between you and your ex. And the reason why I'm saying I think that it is crucial that these type of conversations are happening with your ex, even though maybe someone uncomfortable talking about your relationship, but you want your ex to be supportive of your new relationship when you are not around, because you better believe that when your child goes to their other parent, they may say things like, oh, I was with mommy or daddy's friend this weekend and we went to here. You want that parent to feel like, okay, I knew about this, and have the ability for that parent to say, how'd you like that? How did that go? So that you are receiving the support from the other non-custodial parent in a way where the child feels like, oh, okay, daddy or mommy knows that, my dad or my mom has this new friend in their life, and that we are having these experiences with each other, and that we are a trifecta of people. Because if you're not allowing them that little into your life and how things are going with the introduction and the relationship with your child, when your child goes to them, you may have some of those bitter ass, spiteful ass parents that are going to say what I would consider harmful shit to their child about that parent's new partner. And I myself a couple times had to hold back from saying things like that because my kids would go with their father and their father would be dating someone that I had no clue of.
You know what? I was just about to ask you. Like, this was a question I was just about to ask you, but you went right into it. So go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you, like, what, so what we were saying sounds all fine and dandy, and like some people that we know sounds poetic. But what do you do in a situation that's not like that, right? What do you do in a situation where your ex doesn't make the best decisions as far as the people that they're dating, and you don't approve of the person that they're dating, and they don't really run it by you for the approval, or even try to be have a co-relationship with you about it, right? Because to some degree you guys are still tied together, and who they're dating is going to affect you in a way,
yeah, absolutely,
because they're going to eventually be around your kids, right? So I think it's very important that the two exes still, you know, very much agree to some point about who they bring around the kids. Now, what if you, like in your situation
where he was just dating and not including me in that information?
How do you maneuver around that?
Well, thinking back to those situations, sometimes it was sprung upon me in a way where the kids would come back home from a weekend where they went with their father, and they would say things to me like, oh, I was with daddy this weekend, and, you know, his friend so-and-so was around. And that would be new news to me. And if I'm being completely honest, it would infuriate me because I felt like there were people in the presence of my children that I didn't know if they had my children's best interest at hand.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know these people from the rip. So two things would happen in those situations for me. One was I made it a point to, with all my willpower, to make sure that I always said positive things about those situations and ask as many questions as I could since I wasn't getting the information. So I'd ask questions such as, how was your time spent with this person? What did you do? Where did you go? What did you eat? Trying to get as much information that will allow me to then do the second part, which is then call their father and say, hey, I was just having a conversation with our son or daughter, and they informed me that this past weekend they were with you and you were with a new person, and there were some great things that they told me, or there were some things that they told me that weren't so great, and have a discussion about that. But you have to approach it with a little bit of empathy, because if it's very well possible that you and your ex-partner, have separated on terms that were not fantastic, and there may be some tension there having those conversations. So just keep in the forefront of your mind that the reason why you're contacting them is for the well-being of your children.
Yeah.
So say to your ex, hey, kids came home and told me that, you had this person around me. I just want to be clear that if you're going to have people around our kids or child when they are with you, that is very much your right. But I just want to make sure that our kids are always safe and that they feel comfortable around this person. So let's just kind of keep that in the loop. And if they continue to not do that, then you have all in your right to kind of then talk about how you want to approach time spent with parent if they're going to be around that other person, because especially if the child's a minor, you have those rights.
Yeah.
I would hate for it to go that far, but there are going to be many times where you're going to have to be, sadly, the bigger person and say, had a conversation with our child and this is what I was told. But you definitely also do want to highlight the good things, because there was once upon a time that my boys, their father, was dating someone that every time the kids came home from being with him and spending time with him and that person, they always had wonderful things to say. And it wasn't that person's fault that their father was choosing not to advise me about this relationship. But I always made it a point to be like, that's wonderful. I'm so happy that you are around someone that is a positive reinforcement in my kids' lives. And if I'm being real, I was kind of devastated when they broke up because this person was so good to the kids.
Yeah, that's
so
tough.
it's a loaded gun, Because at the end of the day, these are your children, and the fires from within your belly can start a roaring when they come home and they say shit that you don't like to hear. But I always try to think about how I felt as a kid, because there were many moments that my mother was dating, and I remember how her and my father's dynamic was, and the conversations that they were very unhealthy. And I remember how uncomfortable it made me feel as a child. So I would never want to apply that to my kids. So, and I'm always in it to win it. So I always want to walk away looking like the hero. So I would think that in the end, you wind up looking like the more dignified parent.
Yeah, I could see that. While you were talking, I was thinking about something that you said, and how, there would be this constant conversation of, hey, so what are the kids eating? Oh, you should feed them this, or you should feed them that.
Oh yeah.
And then they would go over there, and they come back and be like, so what'd you eat all weekend? Chinese food, McDonald's, pizza.
That actually brings me to an interesting topic. So you're just rolling right into the one that I have, which is a challenge that people will face when they're dating as a single parent, is the family dynamics. So let's say that you're dating someone that also has children, or let's say they don't even have children, but when you're introducing your child to their dynamic as a family, and it's like potentially the polar opposite of yours.
Wait, so when you're dating someone you're dating someone who has kids?
Yes, if they have kids or if they don't. But if they have kids, it's a little bit more complicated.
But even more so when you're just introducing your kids to their family.
Yes, and the dynamic of how that family functions, and you function very differently in your household. Because remember, it is stop.
I'm sorry.
It is.
You know what I'm thinking about, right?
I know. It is. It is. You are still a single parent at some point, right? Because
I'm sorry.
You know what it is? What's making you laugh?
I'm thinking about Christmas. When I introduced you to my family, and our dynamic was very different from what you knew as Christmas.
Yeah, and listen, that was the positive side of it, right? It was beautiful. I was just so taken aback. I was like, we're singing Christmas carols?
Christmas carols, yeah. It was right.
But what I immediately thought about when, my circle of family and friends said to me that facing the change in family dynamic, I thought about when we were vegan. And when our daughter didn't eat a lot of things, and we didn't feed her a lot of things, and we also chose not to vaccinate our daughter until she was almost 2 years old. Yeah. So there were a lot of instances where the dynamic in our household was very different from other households. Will you stop the laughing, please?
I'm sorry. I was just, as you're speaking, I'm thinking of other things.
Okay, so
I'm thinking about the hot dog incident.
Yes, I was actually going to get to that.
Come on.
Because one of the dynamics that a parent can be faced with when they're going to their new partner's home, whether they have children or not, imagine you are the type of parent that you feed your kid very healthy.
Yeah.
You are very conscious. And when we were vegan, we literally had to deal with this multiple times, where we had to have a conversation with our child as to why they could not partake in, these very American traditions, or just health-wise, why we chose to do things a certain way. So when you are faced with this, trying to blend these two dynamics, I think it's important, no matter how young the child is to give them the why behind everything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't give them the why behind things, then it becomes like you're kind of leading them out of fear. So if you're just like, no, you can't have that. No, you can't do this. They're going to be very confused, and they're going to think that what the other family is doing is better.
Yeah.
Or that they don't have access to it because you're not giving them the why behind it. So you and I used to have conversations with our daughter all the time about why we didn't partake in certain dishes. And it empowered her to then say, no, I don't eat that, or no, I don't do this.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You go right ahead. I'm okay with what I have. She always felt like, she never felt like she was missing out. Because I think that's what can happen. Kids can feel like they are missing out when you're not explaining the why behind things. Now, the other thing is, which I think could be very difficult, is that when you're dating someone and they have children, and there is a difference in how you approach discipline. when you are in their home. So let's say you're hanging out as a blended new kind of family dynamic, and your new partner has children, and let's say that they are more strict with their children, but you're a little bit more laxed.
Okay.
And the new person that is the partner is a little bit more strict, and your child is, I don't know, running amok. And now this parent is, looking
at you.
Yeah, they're squirming in their skin because they're not understanding why you are choosing to not parent the same way that they parent. This then needs to be a conversation with that parent about why to me, it always goes back to the why you're choosing to do these things as a parent. And then vice versa, you want to have the conversation with your new partner as to why they choose to parent the way that they do. Because if you understand their standpoint as to why they're choosing to parent the way that they do, it'll give you a better overall understanding of like the bigger picture when it comes to their children. Because I can tell you there's always a bigger picture, and there's always something deeper when someone chooses to parent their child a certain way. It comes from somewhere. It's either taught, it's either from trauma, or it's something new that they're trying, or something that they read. They're doing it for a reason. So try to really have empathy towards that reason and see if you can find a common ground. Maybe if you are trying to blend your families and you say, okay, but when your child is in my home, just understand that I have rules of my home.
Yeah.
And the same shall apply, but please come see me if you feel like this is not working. It just really goes back to the why and the communication when you are trying to have a new dynamic. And the last thing that I will say is, we like to say things like kids are really resilient. They'll be okay. And that is super traumatic for us as kids, because again, I reflect back upon when my mother was dating and she would just introduce people to me, and like they would try to like
semi-parent you.
They would try to they would try to literally parent me, and I would immediately be like, you're not my fucking father. That would immediately happen, right? Kids are resilient, but that does not mean that we don't walk around with our own fears and our own anxieties. Just think about how you felt in your life as a kid or a teen when you were meeting new people. One of the first examples I could think of is like if you ever transferred to a new school when you were a kid, how fucking crazy that felt when you had to walk into a new classroom, you had to meet new kids, and how scary that felt because these people became part of your life on a daily basis, and you immediately you had to learn how to function around them, and that uncomfortable feeling that you get. So could you imagine what that's like for a child when they're meeting an adult and this adult is becoming part of their life? So kind of like find a way to put yourselves in their shoes and kind of let them lead in that way.
I don't think I've ever had that
that fear.
Well, there's a reason why. The fear of like coming to a new school and like, being fearful because you're like the new kid and not knowing anybody. The first memory that I have of doing that was when I came back from DR. Because when I went over there, I really don't have a clear memory of how I felt when I went to the school. It was a big culture shock, I could tell you that. But when I came back, I was so happy to be back. I walked into that class like I was a tourist. I was like, wow, look at all this. This is great. Like everything looked so new and interesting to me that I didn't have any fear of like whether if anybody would like me, because I was just so immersed in like all of these things that I've just hadn't seen in a very long time. So I was just taking everything in. And I guess it made the experience distracting for me as far as like, what does everybody think about me? Is this person going to like me? And like, and all that stuff.
I get it, Ivo. You're fucking too cool.
I don't say I was too cool. The shit. I don't think anybody would want to be, taken away from their culture of what they know, sent to an island to live for 7 years that they didn't expect to live at, and then all of a sudden abruptly come back one day.
I think I definitely had a very different experience.
Oh yeah, I know you did. I mean, you clearly said that it was different.
Yeah.
When you said that, noticed that when you said that about that experience, I realized in this moment that I didn't experience that, and I thought that was I never even realized it until this moment that you brought it up.
Yeah, I just remember, and I think I said this on the first time that we spoke about dating as a single parent. Just remember that you are bringing an adult into your child's safe space. And when you are potentially trying to merge two things together and you're not keeping your child's feelings in the forefront of that experience, your child can walk away from that feeling very defeated as a child and feeling like you don't care. I was super apprehensive about how I brought men around my children because I never wanted my kids to feel that way.
Yeah.
So it's very important to always keep that in the forefront of your thought process when you're doing that.
Yeah. I also think that making sure that your children's needs and feelings are tended to in those situations, because a lot of times they're overlooked.
What I will say is this: when it comes to different family dynamics, and maybe it may be you are choosing to discipline your child different, you're choosing to feed your child different, you are choosing to raise your child different. And these are things that you and I experienced as parents. We did things very different, and we had to have a lot of those conversations as to why we did things. But I also think it's important for you as the parent that is dating a new partner to explain to your new partner, these are my choices and this is what I think is best for me and my child. But there's going to be times that my child may act this way.
Right. Make
that new partner very aware of your child's consistent behaviors so that it's not like a shock to them.
Yeah.
When you and I first started dating, we were in a new relationship, one of our boys had a learning disability, and I had to make you very aware of his special needs and the type of a time and attention that he needed if you were going to be around him, because it was very difficult at times. But then there were these beautiful moments that you would have with him that I was almost jealous of, because you had these patience that I wasn't even aware of. And these are the beautiful things that I'm talking about that can happen, But I had to make you very aware of the needs that my child had, so that you just weren't like, why is he or she like this? You knew coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that you did a great job of letting me know what it was that I needed to know. Okay, so what I would like to know is, how do you feel the topic of wanting more kids should be spoken about when it comes to dating as a single parent? What does that conversation look like for your ex? And how does one approach the person that they're dating in that regard as well?
I think I have multiple ways of looking at that. First and foremost, you want to make sure that this is a long-lasting relationship.
Agreed.
You and I waited 10 years to have our daughter together. And that wasn't because I didn't think we were going to last, because I knew. So knowing is very important.
Yeah.
We chose to not have a child immediately or within the first 5 years of our new relationship for a multitude of reasons. Mm-hmm. So number one, I think knowing is important. That this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, right? That's number one. Number two, so let's not start talking about that until we know that. Number two is it a financially good decision for you to have another child? Because one thing that I do know, when you're dating as a parent, it is hard as fuck financially.
Yeah.
So is it something that you and your new partner can comfortably afford to do? And does this child fit into your new dynamic in a way where it's not going to add any more stress, because let's say you have an uncooperative ex.
Yeah.
Putting a new child and trying to manage that with your existing child is just going to add to the level of responsibility that you have to do. So let's like kind of figure that out, because if you're dating with children already, we're not fucking kids anymore. Let's be real. You need to make sure that it's financially sound.
And by financially sound, you know, I think you mean like in that moment, right? Because obviously, you know, financial situations change. You know, that's something that is not, you know, can or may not be a constant. But you want to make sure that in that moment and in the near future that you're financially sound. I think the stress and the demand that bringing a child into a relationship requires is a lot, and adding financial strain on top of that is not healthy. It's not a healthy thing to season on top of something that should be a moment of nurturing and caring and bonding and love and all these things. That environment is so crucial to have that I think it can be easily tainted when you're in a financial when you're having financial hardship.
Yeah, that's why I'm stressing it.
Yeah.
I think you and I were very focused on that particular aspect of having another child. We wanted to make sure that when we did, because we had the discussion about having more children, we were very sure about being able to financially and I say comfortably sustain another kid, because we already had 2 children, because we didn't have a co-parent that was actively applying financial support for the children. So we had to make sure that was the right thing. And I think the last thing is, and this may be not the last thing, maybe this should be the first thing, but to even know if your new partner even wants to have more children, because they just may be okay with what they have. I actually have a very good friend that when she started dating her current husband, he had no children and became a very adamant figure in her child's life and was very okay with just raising that child and really had no aspirations to have any other children. And they eventually had a child together because their life developed that way. But initially, he was very much okay with being like, this is my stepchild, and I'm really happy with that.
We can do this to the end of time.
Yeah, so there may be that situation, even if you're dating someone that doesn't have children, and if that person does have children, it just may be something that they're not looking to do. So you may want to like kind of think about that in the beginning, if that's even something that is of interest in either of the partners, and then go forward with is this a long-term thing? Can we financially do this? And then all the other things that we talked about is making sure that, you know, your family dynamic and, you know, your lifestyles, everything is kind of cohesive in a way where you can sustain yourself.
So I want to close with this, because I know that we're coming around to the end of the episode. So your situation, right, was when the father of the boys had another child, there was no discussion with you about it.
No.
Right? And so when we decided to have a child, I mean, of course, we didn't reciprocate. There was no discussion on that end about what we were doing. We just had a child.
Well, we didn't reciprocate because there was, at that time, we actually had no relationship.
Right. There was nothing there, right? What I would like to ask you is, if you could go back in time and rewrite that whole situation, how would you have preferred that to go down so that it would have been more of an accepted situation, right? It would have been something that you would have welcomed, right? Paint that picture.
I'm not sure why you're asking me this. I'm getting emotional.
I know why you are. I know you are, because this was a very tough time and a tough situation for you. And I think that even the idea of being able to have it in a way where it didn't go that way, it's emotional.
It's emotional, maybe for the reason that you're not 100% aware of.
Okay, so I mean, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
It's emotional because I have a half brother. I have a brother that is from another another mother, and I love him dearly. Yeah. I mean, he is like my world. Shout out to Derek.
that's like my brother from another mother.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like this man, he's shown me so much love in my life that like I can't even put words around it. Like, just one of the best people I know.
Yeah. So that's why I'm getting emotional, to know that my boys are not actively growing up with their other siblings.
Yeah.
Because their father chose to go about things the way he did when it came to having more children.
Yeah.
If I could rewind time, and I can tell you why he chose to not be outwardly with the new children that he had conceived. It was because he was already not meeting his obligations.
Yeah.
He was not actively adhering to his days and weekends with the boys. He was also not actively applying his financial support. Yeah. So he already knew he was in a fucking doghouse. So for him to then say, I'm already not able to meet these obligations, I'm going to add more shit on top of that by having a kid, which is going to put me in a more financial and responsibility strain. That's why he chose to keep it a secret from me. But so if I could rewind time, the ideal way would be that, one, he's meeting his obligations. He or she is meeting their obligations. And I would love for that person to be like, hey, me and my partner, we're expecting a new child, and I'm telling you this because this boy or girl is going to be brother or sister to our current child, and I want you to know, because I want it to be an environment where it's positive, it's love reinforcing. So when my kids are coming back home to me and they're saying, oh, we went here and there with, our brother or our sister, I'm like, oh my God, that was great. How did that go? To be honest, if I reflect back upon my life as a child with a half brother, when he would come over for the weekends, it would be like the light of my fucking life. So to know that like my kids and their siblings don't have that relationship, it pains me sometimes. And it's so crazy because back when it happened, man, I was fucking pissed. But now I look at it, I'm like, I'm sad about it. Yeah. So that would be my advice. Like, think about the future of your children and their siblings. And I actually know a friend right now that is going through that their ex had a child with someone it was very unexpected, and this person is being the fucking champion in this situation and really being supportive in that whole situation, because she wants her children to understand and be part of their siblings' life. And I salute her for that. And if she listens to this episode, she'll know who she is. But if I could rewind time, that's how it would be. I swear to God, I don't understand how it is that you get me to be emotional like every fucking episode, but you seem to do it. There's one last thing that I actually did not touch on, that I wanted to share, that now...
Oh, we got to do the cards.
Yeah, we'll do the cards in a second. Since we are in 2023, we have a lot of technology in place that we didn't have fucking 20 years ago. Technology. Yes. We have a lot of technology in play that we didn't have a long time ago. So if you are trying to actively have a healthy co-parenting relationship between you, your new partner, and your ex, I would highly recommend a shared calendar. A virtual shared calendar.
Hell to the yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be between you, your ex, and your partner. It could just be literally between you and your ex, and depending on the age of your child, that child can be part of that calendar too, so that everybody's on the same page. We know what days that there's events. We know that there's days where there are obligations for the child that need to be met from either parent, whether it be doctor visits, dentist visits, after school activities. If you share a calendar virtually, everybody can be on the same page. And because we share a calendar and we do it for our kids, and we live in the same house, and it helps us so much when I have work obligations that I can't meet. And sometimes you're so busy that you may forget, and then you book something for yourself and you're like, wait a second, I actually can't do it that day because I have to be here for our daughter.
It's a great way for us to know each other's schedules when it comes to planning out our own schedules so that we don't double book.
Yeah, because my schedule won't allow it. Okay, so we have this new tradition where at the end of every episode, we are pulling a random card from this deck. By the way, I figured out what each of the cards mean.
Oh, yeah? Let me know.
But no, I don't remember right now. There's instructions, but now I kind of know the categories.
All right.
So the category is... I don't know. Pick the card.
Got me all in suspense.
It's because I've been watching Pose lately.
All right.
You're going to pick right from the top?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
How important are the anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays to you? Describe if and how you'd like to celebrate.
Are we talking about how important are anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays to you? Okay.
Describe if and how you'd like to celebrate.
Okay, so how important are anniversaries? Okay, so for anniversaries, it would be our wedding anniversary. That's very important to me. We even went as far as when it was the pandemic, and then it was our 10-year anniversary. We had a ceremony in the backyard, and we videoed it, and we shared it with everyone. So anniversaries are very important to me. Birthdays, for me,
the big ones. I think you like the 5s and the 0s.
for me, for my birthday, I'm I don't make like a big thing out of it. But there are some that are more special than others. Like when I turned 40, I was like, yo, I'm rocking with a tanga. Like I wasn't playing. Now holidays.
There's only one.
And it's motherfucking Halloween. And we going hard.
In case y'all didn't know.
Even though Christmas has been growing on me. Right?
Yeah, it has, but Halloween is no fucking joke around here.
Halloween is no fucking joke in this house.
There's no games being played over here on Halloween.
A bitch is decorating September 1st.
Don't come around here if your shit ain't right.
All right?
All right?
So.
Put your ass in the back of the bus.
Okay. Oh, shit.
Oh, come on. Don't make it a serious one.
What's something that you never admitted to anyone else?
Oh, fuck. Are you serious?
Do you want to skip this? Do you feel like this is too personal?
I mean, there's a lot of things I haven't admitted to anybody else. But, yeah, probably not things that I'm very proud of. So,
do you want to skip? Do, 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 do.
You know what? I'll share something.
Okay.
All right. Something that I've never admitted to anyone else. You know what? No, I can't because you know this.
Okay.
But you're the only one who knows this. So I think I could share it.
Okay, go ahead.
As a kid.
Because it says anyone else.
Yeah. As a kid, I used to fucking plaster boogers all over my wall.
And I know why Ivo thought about that. Because we were cleaning our daughter's room the other day, and I was like, "Are these boogers on the wall?"
Yep, she got it from her daddy.
Oh my fucking god!
We laying in bed at night, can't sleep as a kid, like digging for gold. Find one and just, I don't know. I think I was like 4 years old. I mean, it's what shit that kids do. But yeah, I never admitted that to anybody. So bro, there you go.
I would have fucking whooped your ass.
Yeah, interestingly enough, my parents didn't. I don't remember getting in trouble for it.
Oh, that is the typical kid growing up in the 80s. Our parents were never around.
Yeah.
Okay? They were too busy working and doing other shit.
At that age, I actually had a maid, so she might have been cleaning that up.
Oh, again, Evo's too fucking cool for school.
You know what? My dad was doing. My parents were doing really well for themselves at that time. And then, then shit all fell apart like a house of cards. And I ended up on an island with Gilligan. So.
Oh man,
yeah.
I actually was gonna wear a hat today. And when I put it on, I was like, I look like Gilligan from fucking Gilligan's Island. I can't wear this shit. People go, you ever see somebody wearing something, you're like, ain't nobody gonna tell her?
Yeah, all the time.
All right. So that actually brings us to the end of this episode. I really hope that people enjoyed this. Man, I always feel like there's still so many things that we could talk about when it comes to
there's a list of shit that I had on my, but I always come with extra notes just in case, because you just never know. So, but yeah, on every episode there's stuff that we don't cover, but I think that's okay.
But to say that we won't revisit this topic again, we will. We would love to hear from you in the comments if this is something that you would enjoy for us to continue digging deeper into we would love to know in the comment section, wherever it is that you like to correspond with us. It helps us kind of understand if going forward with this topic is beneficial to our listeners and our viewers. And we do know this because of how much this episode has been downloaded. The previous episode has been downloaded and streamed. So we are greatly appreciative of that. But until next week on Spark Talk Fridays, where we are creating conversations about life, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.
Peace out.